Scotland. Wild Scotland. Natural Scotland. Changing Scotland. For years now, conserving Scotland's wildlife and wild places has focused on protecting individual species and fragments of habitat. A rare bird here, a threatened wetland there. There's nothing wrong with that, but we now know it's not enough. We need to think differently. We need to think big. We need to think beyond nature reserves towards restoring much bigger landscapes where plants, trees, insects, and animals can exist together. We're talking here about big nature repair jobs, restoring whole ecosystems, some over hundreds of square kilometres, sometimes where the results won't be seen for 10, 20, or even 100 years. So why bother? Because this is not only about protecting a rare bird or a threatened wetland, this is also about us. This is about protecting our future. Nature provides us with many free services that we don't even think about. Our forests clean our air. They're a green gym where we can exercise. Our mountains trap and clean our water and provide us with space to play. Our seas provide us with food as well as bringing valuable tourism. Even our peat bogs, seemingly just windswept tracts of nothingness, store more carbon than tropical rainforests. They're a key ally in our fight against climate change. We might think we're pretty smart and that we don't need nature, but we do. Our very existence relies on the many services that nature provides. So repairing and reconnecting our damaged landscapes and seascapes is not just a nice thing to do to protect a few plants or birds. It's vitally important for us too. Healthy nature equals healthy people. Scotland is our home. An investment in Scotland's nature is therefore nothing more than an investment in our home. We all know that the natural world faces many challenges, and as a society, we find ourselves at a bit of a crossroads. So is our plate half empty or half full? Well, that depends how you look at it. Fantastic things are already happening to Scotland's nature. Throughout the country, some heroic efforts are taking shape to restore natural habitats, to rebuild our natural home. In the Scottish Highlands and places like Glenafric, Glenfeshie and Abernethy, huge efforts are being made to restore and reconnect forest fragments. And already the results are obvious, with species like pine martens and ringlet butterflies returning to places where they've not been seen for decades. In the Cairngorms, where forests are being restored and joined up to function more effectively, birds like black grouse are increasing in number, and in some places, capercaillie are also doing better. Forest networks are great news for wildlife, great news for climate change, great news for local people. In the northwest, in Coigach and Assynt, landowners have come together with a vision to restore nearly 2,000 square kilometres of Scotland's most spectacular mountains and coastline. This is one of the most inspiring and ambitious landscape-scale conservation projects ever. This is fresh thinking, big thinking, ecosystem thinking. After decades of neglect, peat bogs in Caithness and Sutherland are also being repaired to provide not only a home for rare birds like hen harriers and red-throated divers, but as a carbon trap and water purifier for us. And away from our wildest corners, this fresh approach to nature conservation is providing other benefits. Bass Rock in the Firth of Forth is home to 50,000 pairs of gannets, and the Scottish Seabird Centre in nearby North Berwick now contributes over £2 million to the local economy each year. This is nothing short of an industry built on seabirds. The gannets and puffins of the Bass Rock and surrounding islands have become wildlife superstars, and it's hard to get away from them. Puffin ornaments, puffin tea towels, puffin toilet brush holders, furry puffins, pot puffins, wooden puffins, puffins everywhere. Puffins watching you while you eat, puffin boat trips, and of course, puffin money, gannet money. Money generated from the sea effectively. On Scotland's west coast, on the islands of Skye and Mull, another wildlife superstar is making a comeback. The white-tailed sea eagle, reintroduced 30 years ago, is a keystone species at the top of the food chain. But more than that, the sea eagle's return proves that people, as well as wildlife, can benefit from repairing our ecosystems. Sea eagles on Mull alone reportedly generate around £5 million each year to the local economy. And in a separate project, the recent return to Fife on the east coast is set to do the same there. The return of sea eagles and in other places red kites and peregrine falcons is surely a sign of our changing relationship with nature. A sign of us starting to reinvest in nature's bank. Living alongside nature is the essence of the Central Scotland Green Network, an inspiring project covering more than 10,000 square kilometres, and an example of how new thinking and new vision can influence the way we design and live in our urban environments. Not separate from nature, but as part of nature. 30 years ago, none of this would have happened. 30 years ago, we didn't know how. 30 years ago, we didn't really care. But we do now. Scotland's nature is on the march. Restoring these vast areas of land and sea and all the small bits in between will only work if people can see a benefit in it. Crucially then, this new thinking has to involve and include people. And that's great news, because the reason that all of these inspiring projects are underway comes down to people. People who value nature, people who care, and because they care, they take action. Great things can happen when people care. We all need to care for Scotland's nature, to allow Scotland's nature to care for us. Are you ready?